Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. My name is Melissa Glasso, and today we're going to talk about two cool annual reports. They come out every year. I honestly don't think a lot of people know that they're out there, and I always like to share this when they do, simply because there's a lot that happens in these organizations. I don't think people know how they're run. And so it's always a fun opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on at both the FASB and the AICPA. So today we're going to look at their actual annual reports. Both of them are not-for-profit organizations. Both make their financial statements available to the public on their website. And so as a result, we're going to take a look today at the two websites and two sets of annual reports just to kind of get us a feel. So the first up, we're going to start with the FASB. The FASB has a December year end, as is the AICPA. And it is the Financial Accounting Foundation, which is both the FASB and the GASB together, right? The parent company is the FAF, the Financial Accounting Foundation. And so this is their 2023 annual report. I'm just going to pop it up on the screen for you and kind of walk you through it. So let's take a look real quick here. All right, let's start over here at the FASB. So every year they put this out. It's probably one of my favorite times when it happens. I love the standards that work. I also use that as their hashtag anytime I post about the FASB. And you can see here they are going to have the standard items. So they have a little bit of messaging from the FAF chair, the FAF executive director. Then they are going to have the message from the FASB chair and the GASB chair. And you'll get separate highlights from each of them. Big in this time is the 40th anniversary of the GASB. The FASB celebrated their 50th in 2022. The GASB turned 40 in 2023. And so we had some big pieces of time. And then there is the MD&A, which is, again, optional as it is a not-for-profit organization, but FASB chooses to provide it. It's actually something that the NAC, the Not-for-Profit Advisory Committee, has talked about for years in encouraging people to provide some analysis. It's optional, obviously. Governmental accounting, not optional, but for the FASB side of the house, optional. But they kind of are showing what they mean by MD&A for not-for-profits, and then you get to their statement of activities and ultimately their independent auditor's report. So this year, every year, the setting is different. One year is like watercolors. Another one was really heavy with pictures. This one seems to have a lot of these geometric shapes to it. So the shape and the coloring that they do each time is different. They have a great marketing and communications department. So a little bit about, obviously, the FAF, obviously the messages, as we said, as we look at the chair and the executive director. And then they talk a little bit about what their key items are. And then a picture of the FAF trustees. And then they give a lot of credit over to everybody here. You can kind of see where they're coming from. And they provide their updated strategic plan. So if you've been in any of our classes, you know that each year that they update their strategic plan, we talk about what those plans are, and there are 6 goals, and they're going to give you an update on each of them. And then it moves over specifically to the FASB, and you can see Rich Jones here provided his thoughts on what was going on at the FASB, and picture of the FASB board. We're actually getting a new board, actually just got a new board starting July 1. So we've had some transition there. So Jim Croker, who's been the vice chair, he has rolled off the FASB, and we now have Hillary Salo, who has taken his place. So she's a new board member and the new vice chair. So a little bit of transition happening right now. So here are some highlights about the standards that were issued and other proposals that came out, and then some lovely references to the advisory groups there. Then you have the message from the GASB chair and their support and what they've had done. But again, the members of the GASB and their 2023 highlights, while they didn't put out nearly as much, what they did put out was impactful. But then we have the celebration of the 40 years, and I always love this. And if you haven't been to their website, they have a really nice 40-year documentation that you can go through to understand what's going on. Then here is that MD&A with a lot of pictures and explanations describing the results of operation. I'm not going to go through all of that, but I'm going to go straight to their statement of activities. A lot of people don't know how the FASB makes money, but accounting support fees, whether that is from the Sarbanes-Oxley registrations for the FASB, the SEC, and then the GASB is done by Dodd-Frank. And so those are some of the key items. Obviously, they also sell licensing revenue, so to access the COD, et cetera. And then they do have contributed services for people who are entitled to payment, but who do it voluntarily and choose not to get paid. Then there is an amount allocated to that. Then they use their methodology to show the standard setting fees and then the publishing and licensing fees. So you can see the sort of margin that they make on that. They have a balance sheet, or what we call a statement of financial position for nonprofits, and a statement of cash flow. As you can see, they only have operating and investing, though no financing here. I'm not going to go through the notes, but I always recommend you guys take a look at the notes, simply because if you are working with a nonprofit that has any of these types of activities, they are great. So publishing, for example, or other elements, highly recommend. They wrote the standards, so they're going to be pretty good at making sure all the things are in there. But then let's go down to what everybody wants to know, which is that independent accountants report. Or independent auditors report. And so you can see here, they are audited by RSM, who issued their opinion back in March of 24. And then they put together this lovely item. Excuse me. As you can see here, they have a little bit of a welcome to new members that are happening, and then their mission, vision, values as we go through. So if you haven't taken a look at this, I highly recommend it. I think it's a great opportunity for us to understand the inner workings of the FASB, right? They write all of our accounting standards for nonprofits, privates, and public companies. Probably should understand how they work and how they operate. To me, it's a super interesting one. But another one that people are always interested in is the AICPA. I do want to point out it is the association. So it's the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants and Related Organizations Combined Financial Statements. What does that mean? So remember, the AICPA and CIMA kind of merged together. And so that's how we get the association instead of the AICPA being the American Institute. So while we still use the same acronym, if you're talking about U.S. standard setting, it's the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. If you're talking about the greater AICPA, it's going to be the association. And so the financial statements are for the greater association here. So let's go back over to our association. And again, this is an integrated report, so you're going to be able to see their contents as well. So they're going to have letters from leadership, just like normal, their highlights, their strategy, obviously a focus on sustainability, focus on the new CGMA business model. Then they're going to have a little bit of an overview of the council. So I served on AICPA Council. And so AICPA Council has their own council, and then CIMA has their own council, and that comes together. And the association is both CIMA and the AICPA. And then you can see their net assets and financial positions and some KPIs that they're using, and then ultimately their financials. And so again, the very pinkish purple color that the AICPA is known for, not my personal favorite color, but it is what their branding colors are made of. So you can see mission, vision, values, just like you would see in any item. You have your leadership. So last year, it was Corey Ramsey and Sarah Gush. He is from the AICPA. He's from California. He works for a healthcare institution, so he's a B&I guy. And then Sarah Gush is from, I want to say somewhere in England, but I don't want to be too specific there, but she's our CIMA chair. And then they come together. And then obviously Barry being the CEO. Now Barry's going to retire on the last day of 2024. It'll be the end of his almost 30-year reign at the head of the AICPA. So kind of exciting. So you can see them provide their little bit update on what they're focusing on. And you can see their highlights. So what they think are their core sort of accomplishments during the year. You'll also be able to see so some of the people that they were talking about from a strategy perspective here, and lots of different individuals. You may find yourself potentially lots of members that are going to be shown here, so always fun. Then we get into the value creation model, specifically the CGMA business framework that they've been focused on and really building this out. They purchased BLI and brought over Tom Hood, which was a huge one for the AICPA. And so a little bit about the work that he's been doing behind the scenes. And then you can see here as they look at some of the work that's being accomplished. And then I'm going to keep going all the way down, and we're going to get into the financials. And so again, these are combined financials. So here it starts with the opinion, and you're going to see here at the very bottom that Cohn Resnick out of New Jersey gave this. And again, this is the annual report, so you can see the other information segment. And then obviously the opinion here, not a surprise, is that the opinions are fairly stated. Again, they're the people who create the audit standard, so always interesting to see theirs. And then you can see this is the association. So you can see the balance sheet here. And then the combined statement of activities, net assets, and preferred stock. They do have some for-profit subs, which is why you're getting some of these. So again, you can take a look at the information and you can see, right, member changes as we go through this, as their prior member core, what they do for a living, right? Membership, but global learning being a big element. Obviously, the CPA exam and the CIMA or the CGMA exam. And then they do have investment gains and losses. So it looks like it has a good return this year, not so much last year, but again, that kind of reflects the market. Then you can see the expenses broken out using the functional classifications. You have program support as we go through. And then ultimately that preferred stock, which again comes from the for-profit side of the house that they have as a sub. So it's a combined financial. And then you can see this is their statement of cash flows, which they're going to do through an indirect method. So as you can see, this is what I really wanted to look at was what's in here. So the combined financial statements of the association, the AICPA, CIMA, and then they also have here their subsidiaries that they're included. And you can see in here that they have a couple of wholly owned subsidiaries as well, and CPA.com, which is again a for-profit organization. And then they've got the Accounting Research Association, the Benevolent Fund, the AICPA Foundation, which does a lot of scholarships. And then they also have the State Societies Network. So it's actually a pretty complicated financial statement. So I think that's really interesting. In here, you can see that they did adopt the CECL standard, not surprising. And then you can kind of see some of the impact on their financial statements as well. So they have lots of notes for you to take a look at. And then we'll close up here with just that sort of ending area. So again, if you haven't taken a look at the AICPA or the FASB's financial statements, it's really nice to understand the organizations, how they're operating, what their financial path forward looks like. So hopefully that was somewhat interesting to you. I know for me, it's always interesting. All right, so that's a wrap on this week's blog. Hopefully give you a different perspective on what's going on in the profession, more from a financial perspective. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I know for the next couple of weeks, you're going to have some guest bloggers. Some of our other trainers are going to be sharing their wisdom, but I will see you in just a few weeks. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you on a future blog. Bye, guys.